As governments around the world prepare for the start of COVID-19 vaccinations, some questions remain about your rights when it comes to getting inoculated. Could you lose your job if you refuse to get the shot, for example? Could your boss force you to get the vaccine? Let's break it down. A number of questions. Let's get answers. Alex Lucifero, the man with answers from Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. Good morning. Good to see you, Alex.
Good morning, Leslie.
Are there cases where the interests of the greater public trump your individual rights in this scenario?
Well, generally speaking, no, Leslie. Employers in a situation like this are in a careful position that they have to, consider very, very carefully. And the reason why is because, no, an employer can't necessarily force an employee to get a vaccine. That is too onerous an obligation to put it on an employee or anyone for that matter. I don't think anybody should be forcing an individual to absolutely get a vaccine and coerce them into getting a vaccine. An employer can't do that in the workplace, even in the most dangerous of workplaces like long-term care homes or hospitals, etc. On the other hand, however, Leslie, and a kind of competing obligation here on the part of an employer is that they do have an obligation to maintain a healthy and a safe workspace. And so the question becomes, well, with those competing obligations, well, you can't force an employee to get a vaccine, but you also have to ensure health and safety in the workplace. What do you do as an employer?
Well, let's give the example of a healthcare or a long-term care home scenario where an employee who is, on the front line says, I don't want to get it. I doubt that's going to happen because they would know better than anybody the effects of COVID-19 still. Couldn't it be the same scenario, for example, when you want to send your kids to school and if they're not vaccinated, they send them home? Can't you just apply that here?
Yeah, so there may very well be restrictions on employees that are not going to get a vaccine. And to be clear, Leslie, my personal opinion is that the vaccine is going to be a great idea for most people, but there can very well be medical reasons why somebody shouldn't be receiving a vaccine, perhaps allergies, perhaps other medical reasons. There may also be religious reasons why an employee shouldn't or wouldn't want to receive a vaccine. Those people, those employees, can't simply be kicked by the wayside. They have to be accommodated in some form or fashion. And again, the employer also has to ensure that it's protecting its other employees. Yeah. And so, accommodations or possible restrictions like continuing to work from home or continuing to social distance or continue to wear masks in the workplace, those are potential alternate arrangements where an employee can perhaps not get a vaccine and continue their employment relationship with the company. That's going to require a conversation between an employer and an employee and eventually an agreed upon solution. Again, these are important conversations that employers and employees are going to be having down the road for the next several months, if not year.
What if working from home doesn't work and you've got a case where somebody refuses to get it and then the person in the next cubby hole basically is immunocompromised and says, I can't sit next to that person because they may put me at risk?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And you can't work from home if you're working on an assembly line. Yeah. Right. So and that's where other possible solutions have to come into play. So perhaps employees that cannot be vaccinated for whatever reason or choose not to be vaccinated, have to be placed in another separate area of the office or of the the manufacturing plant or wherever the workplace is. And again, other accommodations or restrictions can be imposed. Mask wearing, social distancing, etc. Those solutions are going to have to be found. Employers can't necessarily, let an employee go, terminate an employee's employment simply because, for whatever reason, they've decided not to vaccinate it. Again, there may be a legitimate reason why an employee can't be vaccinated, and that has to be accommodated.
All right, I think we covered it all. Alex Lucifero, the man with answers. Appreciate it, Alex, for your time.
Thanks for having me, Leslie.